guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tiny Vegan, and if you haven't been here before, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another video. So in today's video we're doing vegan baking hacks. So these are like basically the egg replacements that you'd use in baking. I want to make a more extensive video because now I'm doing just the top 3 and I want to see which one works better, like which one you should do with all your cakes, what works better, what makes the cake bind better or rise better, what the textures are like, all that kind of stuff, because you always hear about the different hacks. So there's like Chia eggs, flax eggs, fizzy drinks, egg replacer, cider vinegar. Honestly, there's so many possibilities, they're literally endless. So I'm picking the top 3, which are egg replacers, a fizzy drink and a Chia egg. So I thought I'd start with these, and if you guys like this video then I can make a more extensive video with obviously different substitutes. If that's something you'd like to see, let me know in the comment section below and I'll be sure to make that video for you. So we are using the Tesco own brand cheapest cake mix. This is just like the cheapest ready-made cake mix. I think it's literally like something ridiculous, like 30p to 60p maybe. So I got 3 packets of these. This is just a plain vanilla sponge cake mix, and obviously I'm going to use the same 3 different packets of the same one, as that's like the control, if that makes sense. So that bit needs to stay the same so we can actually see what the difference is. With these mixes, it's just add water and 1 egg. So obviously instead of using eggs, we're going to substitute for, here I've got whole chia seeds, which I'll make into a chia egg, the all-gran egg replacer, which is the best egg replacer I've ever used. So I used to use the Free&Easy, I think it is, egg replacer, which comes in like a little tub, and honestly it's not a patch on this. This like sort of fluffs up, I guess, like an egg. That one was so thin and I thought it was good until I started using this one, which is the one I think my grandma even uses this one, and my mum uses it, and it's honestly, you just can't beat it. It froths up and it's the right texture. If you can get your hands on these, they're really good. You can usually get them in Whole Foods shops, and you can probably get them in like Honda Bar, places like that. And then you can literally use any fizzy drink that you want. So you can use carbonated fizzy water, you can use Sprite, you can use Coke, and then if you want to obviously cut down on the calories and the sugar, then you can use a diet version. If you wanted to know what fizzy drinks are vegan to put in your cake, check out my recent video, which is fizzy drinks that you didn't know were vegan, and that is like sort of a conclusive list for the UK of the fizzy drinks which I found aren't vegan. So most of them are. This is the Lidl own brand Coke, and this is also vegan. So that is a way of making this cake even cheaper, because you've got a really cheap cake mix. You just add this to the cake mix and that is literally it. Because obviously this works as water and the egg. First of all, we're going to try the egg replacer, because that's like the most common one and that's probably the one that I use most. I've never tried to make a cake with a can of Coke, so this is going to be a learning curve for me as well. So first of all, it says to preheat to 180 degrees, which I have just done. Add the mixture into a large mixing bowl and add egg and water. This makes a sandwich cake, so obviously like a Victoria sponge type cake. So I don't tend to have or use parchment paper, so I just grease them with this Stockwell Tesco soft spread, which if you didn't know, this is the cheapest butter that Tesco does because it's own brand and it is vegan. So if you're finding butter a bit expensive, then this is, well, obviously vegan butter, then this is a really good alternative, which we only realised was vegan recently, so definitely worth it because it's really cheap. So I just greased it with that. Empty my mix into the bowl now, and then you want to add the egg. So if you guys aren't familiar with egg replacers, I always do it in a little bowl. To replace 1 egg, it's 1 teaspoon and then 2 tablespoons of water. You then just give that a little mix and get it all over the side, obviously, until the lumps have sort of dissolved. I don't know if you guys can see that texture is really thick. It goes really thick and gloopy. And then it says to add 7 tablespoons of water into the cake mix, which equals 100 ml. So 100 ml or 7 tablespoons of water. So I've added my 7 tablespoons, and now I'm going to add my egg. And then I'm meant to whisk for 2 minutes until smooth. I mean, honestly, right, I'm seeing this now and I'm just thinking 2 things. That is thick as hell. And how is that supposed to be 2 sandwich cakes? I'm actually going to add a bit more water, because that can't be right. It might be the egg replacer. So I've mixed that for about a minute. As you guys can see, it's thinned it out a bit with some water. I genuinely don't think I'm going to be able to put that in 2 cake tins. Like, no way. I'm just going to put this in 1 cake tin and just sort of make it my own. But I don't see how that mix is meant to make a sandwich cake. No way. is what they expect. It's not even covering the bottom. No, I'm afraid we're going to put it all in there. So that looks a bit more reasonable. It needs to go in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes in the centre until golden brown on top. I don't have high hopes for this cake at this point because I don't think even with an egg it would have made 2 sandwich cakes. So I'm glad that I put the whole amount in because now it's risen to a normal amount, and I think it's possibly the cake mix, not the egg replacer. My cake's been in the oven for about 20 minutes. It says 20 to 25 minutes on the packet. So I'm going to use a cocktail stick to see if it's done, and then I'll let you guys know if it needs to go in for the extra 5. Maybe I shouldn't have doubted it so much because it's risen a fair amount. But then it would have only risen half that amount if I hadn't have put the entire mixture in that one cake tin. So then it would have been literally been this thick. It also says to leave it till it's golden brown. The toothpick is coming out clean, but it's definitely not golden brown. Like at the moment it looks very anemic and pale. And it specifically says golden brown on it, but it's been 22, 23 minutes and it's definitely cooked through. So I think I'm just going to get it out. I guess it's a bit golden brown on one side, but not really. And I'll put a timer on for 5 minutes and then I'll tip it onto a cooling rack and see you back there then. My timer just went off. As you guys can see, this is the bottom of the cake, obviously. It's only that thick, right? Ignore this corner because, as I said, I don't use parchment paper. And it came off. It's literally the fact that it's so spongy and it's so... sort of it just stuck. So this is the top of the cake and maybe you can see what I mean. So from this side that looks golden brown, that looks perfect, but the light's really good in here so it makes it kind of look goldeny, but this side actually looks really anemic in person, and as you can see it just split really easily, and I don't know if that's the egg replacer didn't possibly bind it as well as an egg would. So I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to pop it on a cooling rack because it says leave it in the cake tin for 5 minutes. I'm trying to follow it as exactly as I can, unless I know that it won't work. For instance, like there was so little water in that cake, it was literally a cookie dough. So then I did make amendments, but that's because I felt like it really needed that. I don't know, I'd say kind of because it splits so easily, as you guys can see, that maybe it's not practical because literally the bits are just falling out of the bottom of the cooling rack. And maybe that's just because it's a cheap cake mix as well. I mean, it is very cheap, so you can't expect a perfect cake. So to make 1 chia egg, it's 1 tablespoon of chia seeds and 2.5 tablespoons of water. I've got my Aldi chia seeds. These, again, these aren't very much. And they're great to just add to smoothies and stuff. And it does add a bit of fibre to a unhealthy cake, so you know you can't really go wrong. And that was 2.5 tablespoons of water in the tablespoon of chia seeds. Give it a stir and then you literally just leave that. So then we have a bowl and I'm going to open up the other cake mix and decant it into here again. So while that cake cools, I'm going to do my chia egg one. So you don't need to see this again, you saw me do this in the last video. I'm just going to add my chia egg. It's literally like a blob at the moment. If you've had a chia pudding, I was about to say, have you had a chia pudding? Like I was expecting an answer. If you've had a chia pudding, it's that consistency. So I think sometimes you can get away with leaving it less than I left it. I kind of got carried away and I think I left it for like 10 minutes. Probably the optimal time would be like 5 minutes. I definitely left that a bit too long. So I may need to add some water, and I completely accept that that's my error. That is without adding anything extra. And also a downside about having a chia egg is obviously that you can see the bits of chia in it. You can see all the little bits of chia, it's kind of speckledy. So to avoid that you can use a flax egg instead, which I'm pretty sure is the same ratio. It should be ground flax seeds. So if you get whole flax seeds you need to grind them up. Because I left that quite long, it just kept absorbing. So I guess for that reason, possibly it could make a dry cake. I mean, I've honestly never made a cake with a chia egg before. I think this one might be a little bit thicker than the other one, to be honest, because it needed so much extra water. I think I probably did 75 ml extra water than the first one, and I'd say even still it's quite thick. It kind of looks like it makes more mixture though. I'll pop that in the oven and I'll do 20 minutes again and check it. My timer's just gone off. That was 20 minutes. So I'm just going to check them with a cocktail stick again and see what they're looking like. Do you know what, guys? I'm so shocked by this. I think that one's risen a lot more than the first one. Because I know the eggs are binding, they don't make it rise. But then I'm not sure why this one will have risen more apart from the change of ingredients. So it must be that, but I will show you when that one's out. I'm going to move this one off the cooling rack because that is completely cooled now. It's firmed up a bit as well, which is good because it was so crumbly. Then I can pop the other one on it when it's completely done, but again, it's not gone golden brown yet, so it's like it's completely cooked and it's risen a lot and it's fine, but it's just not brown. So I'm just getting the cake out of the oven now. That looks so much better than the other one. That's quite a lot firmer than the other one and a lot browner too, which is good. And it was in for the exact same amount of time, 22 minutes. So that one's done. So I'll leave that in the tin for 5 minutes and then turn it on to cooling rack. The next egg replacer, it's Coca-Cola or a fizzy drink. I'm using just the Freeway Lidl own brand cola, but you can use Coca-Cola, Sprite, Fanta, all that kind of stuff. You can use any fizzy drink basically, but obviously the more flavourful the fizzy drink, the more that will actually taste like the cake. Although apparently the cake, when you make it with Coke, doesn't actually taste like that. But I'm guessing if you use like grape Fanta, it will kind of taste a little bit off. You can also use just fizzy water, sparkling water. That apparently works even better because it's like not got the sugar and the additives and stuff, but it's an effective replacement for the egg. Obviously with the other one, it was a replacement for literally the egg. This is apparently a replacement for the entire thing. So it's basically all you need is your fizzy drink and your cake mix. What apparently says online, 1 can of whatever your beverage is, whether that be Coca-Cola or whatever it is, you just add that to your cake mix and mix it, and that's it. So obviously it replaces the water as well as the egg in this instance. So a can of Coke or Sprite or whatever is about 330 ml. I'm just going to measure out 330 ml and then I'll get into making my cake. So I have my dry cake mix in there, and I'm just going to add this entire lot in there and whisk it. That's what I've been told to do, and that's what it says to do online. But that is a hell of a lot more liquid than I've used for any of the other 2 cakes. So now I'm not sure. But for instance, if you look online, it says just add 1 can of fizzy drink, Coke, fizzy water to your cake mix and whisk that until it's all combined. It says to a box of cake mix, whereas this one is just 1 egg and water. So I'm kind of now not sure if I should have done half of it. This is just really runny. When the other ones were basically cookie dough, this is like crazy runny. So I feel like that was a very generic thing that I read, that it was meant to be 1 can for a whole cake mix. I don't know if other cake mixes are actually usually bigger than this one here, because this is like very... I mean, if you remember what it was like before for the other 2, and then look how runny that is. So I've just popped the rest of this in there. That's literally really filled it up. Whereas the other one had not filled up at all. Like, that's crazy different. Handling this is dangerous. It's just liquid in a really flimsy silicone mould. I don't expect that to work at all. Obviously, when I read it online that you put 1 can in, and I measured out exactly 330, it's for a bigger cake mix. But then I feel like cake mixes are usually quite standard, aren't they? But it must be. There's obviously some discrepancy there. I'm not sure what it is. That works, and that becomes as firm as these cakes do in the same amount of time. I will be impressed, because either it's never going to get firm and it's just going to be a mess, or it's going to get as firm but it's going to take like double the amount of time, because then I can't really tell you whether the Coca-Cola thing works, because it just hasn't worked for this one, but we'll see. So the timer just went off for the cola cake, so I'm just about to check that again with the cocktail stick, and we'll see how that one's looking. Like I said, I'm definitely assuming that this one will take a lot longer to bake, so I'm assuming that I will probably need to put that back in for at least another 10-15 minutes, but we'll have a look. I might be wrong. Yeah, definitely not cooked, so I'm going to pop it back in. That was 100% not even nearly done. Whereas these were done at 20 minutes and needed 2 minutes to brown. I just moved this one, which is completely cooled, that's a Chia Egg one, onto a plate because that's completely cooled. As you can see, it's really weird because it's 2 tones, and I'm not sure why that would be. That it should be this colour on the top, and it's not. But if you were making like a birthday cake or something, you would put icing on it. So you probably either put icing sugar on the top, and like maybe you'd make a Victoria sponge, so you might put just jam or jam and buttercream. So you do something and it would make it look a bit prettier. Just put icing sugar on the top would make it look better. But I think if you're just looking for a plain cake like that and you weren't really going to do much with it, people are going to see that. I wouldn't serve that personally. Still got the taste test to go, so that should be interesting. I mean, I'll try it again if you guys like this video and want to see more. So you want to see me trying aquafaba or flax eggs or cider vinegar or something. If you guys wanted to see that, then I will make this again. And I will try again with less liquid and see how that works. And I might try using a different cake mix as well. It's been 40 minutes now? 35 minutes? I've lost track. 35 or 40 minutes, and I'm going to give it another check. Exactly the same as it was 5 minutes ago. So I'm going to put it back in the oven for 5 minutes. But I don't have high hopes for this cake. I'm actually... If it's not done after this next 5 minutes, I'm just going to take it out and say it's a write-off because it's just not working. So it's been another 5 minutes, and that's either 40 or 45 minutes now, so that's a, hell of a long time. But I can't remember which one it is. I lost track again. It's obviously not going to work. So we're back with a taste test. So here we have our 3 cakes, the 3 finished products. Here is the first one. This is egg replacer, and like I said, downfalls about this one was cracked and it was quite crumbly when it came out of the oven. Took 22 minutes. This is a Chia Egg one, and as you can see, the problem is the difference in colouring. That also took 22 minutes exactly, so not bad at all. And then the last one, which was the failure, and this was the Cola cake. So as you can see, it's completely cracked. It's not really holding its shape very well. It feels a lot firmer now that it's cooled down, obviously. But it took about 40 minutes, possibly 45 minutes to cook. I'm not anticipating anything good coming of the Cola cake because it just didn't work. As I said, pretty sure that this cake mix is just less cake than a normal cake box. So when online it said use a can for a whole cake box, actually was only meant to be half. We'll start with the egg replacer cake, which I just showed you. This one cut quite nicely, to be fair. This one actually looks all right. I don't know if you can see that properly, but that actually doesn't look too bad. Like I said, this is the entire cake bag in one tin. I don't know how they expect you to make a cake with, it would be half of this. That wouldn't be worth having. I don't know if this kind of didn't work as well because they are very cheap cake mixes. Like, we're talking 30 to 60p. Crazy cheap. So I think if you tried any of these, obviously did less cola or fizzy drink and used a better quality cake mix, like a Betty Crocker or whatever it is, then it will probably work better than this because I think it's just a cheap cake mix. I mean, it's a 30p cake. You can't really quibble about that. This one feels quite nice. I think I can almost feel that it might be a bit dry, but it feels nice and spongy. It looks anemic, as I said before. It still looks anemic, but then an egg wouldn't change that colour, so this is just what it would look like with egg. It's kind of claggy, so it's not light and fluffy like a normal sponge, especially Victoria would be. Just look that appetising. The Chia Egg Cake, which is number 2, I have most high hopes for. But as you can see, it's kind of changed a little bit of the colour having the chia egg in it. Just cutting this, I can tell this is going to be definitely drier. As I said previously, the downside to this is that you can literally see the chia seeds in it. Which, I mean, is fine. But you couldn't trick someone that this wasn't vegan when you can see chia seeds in it. That's the only problem with it. That's why flax eggs are so much easier, because also they're ground in with the mix and you can't tell that it's got flax egg in it. So yeah, this one does feel quite a bit drier, but this one rose quite nicely, a bit more than the egg replacer did. I'd say you can feel the texture of the chia seeds. You bite through the cake and the cake tastes good. Tastes like a vanilla sponge. The texture is actually fine. It's not dry at all, actually, which I thought it was going to be. Especially it would be nice with like buttercream and jam like a Victoria sponge. Now is the Cola cake, which, I mean, is there even any point trying it? This I don't think is even cooked properly. I actually got bored cooking it. It wasn't a case of it was cooked. It was a case of I couldn't be asked to wait no longer when it had already been double the amount of time as the other 2 cakes. Just cutting this, I can feel that it's going to be chewy, because it's kind of resisting against the knife. There was literally no point. I don't even want to eat it. I'll have a bit at the top because it's a bit more crusty. Obviously I used too much cola, but I still can't taste it. Which I had heard that you couldn't taste the cola, it was just sweeter. If you did it right and you got a more expensive cake mix that would work better, then I think that would work fine. And everyone that I've seen make it has made it fine. Obviously I'm just really bad at baking. Out of those three, I'd recommend the chia one. It works better, but you just have to get over the bittiness, well not bittiness, the graininess of the chia seed. So that's why it would be better to make that cake, but make with a flax egg, which you make sort of the same. Those are my 3 disasters of cakes. I've kind of really badly represented vegan baking now. But if you do want to make vegan cakes, I can 100% recommend Loving It Vegan. She has a blog and she has an Instagram as well. I'll try and leave the links to those in the description box. Honestly, I think I've made quite a few of her recipes and every single time they've worked 100%. I actually am going to remake this video with more expensive cake mixes and I will just try it all again, use less cola, and we'll see how that works. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another video. I'm sorry this one was a bit of a flop. Maybe next time it'll work a bit better. I hope you have a lovely week and I'll see you in the next one.